As you might be able to tell, recently I've been having tons of fun sewing the free Tiana's Closet patterns. Today was no exception, and in this video we're putting together the Kaale skirt. This skirt pattern has ruffled panels that attach to a front and back yoke, as well as a facing and a back invisible zipper. I was actually surprised by how quickly the pattern came together. For this skirt, I've used a lightweight cotton rayon blend, and I would recommend using such lightweight woven fabrics. I hope you add this skirt to your wardrobe as well. Let's get started. Here is my front skirt piece. I'm going to sew basting stitches along the upper end from one corner to the other using the longest stitch on my machine and leaving thread tails on both ends so that I have threads to pull for gathering. I'm going to be using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here is my front skirt piece, and I'm going to start attaching the front ruffle along the bottom edge. I'll pin the center of the basted edge of my ruffle to the center of the bottom of the yoke. And I'll also pin them together along the side corners. Then I'll start pulling the basting stitches on both sides until the ruffle fits the bottom of the yoke. Once it fits and the gathers are distributed evenly, go ahead and pin in place. Then we can sew the ruffle to the yoke with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. And then press your seam allowance up toward the yoke. We're going to gather the tops of both of the back ruffles and attach them to the bottom of the back skirts in the same way as we did for the front. I'm going to sew basting stitches along the top edge. I'll start attaching it to the bottom of the back yoke. Now I've pinned them together, and I'll repeat for the opposite back yoke and back ruffle piece. Then we'll sew these yokes to their back skirt pieces. With a 1/2 inch seam allowance, finish the raw edges and press the seam allowances up toward the yoke. Place your front and back skirt pieces right sides together along the side seams, and pin your side seams matching the yoke seams. Sew both side seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. Apply interfacing to the wrong sides of your facing pieces, then place them right sides together along the side seams. And pin. Sew with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and press the seams open. Now that the facing is constructed, finish the bottom raw edge in your preferred method. I'm going to serge the bottom raw edge, and once those edges are finished, I'll press them to the wrong side by a 1/4 inch all the way across. Then I'll top stitch that folded edge in place from one side all the way to the other, stitching close to my finishing stitches. Now I'll place the top of the facing and the top of the skirt right sides together and pin from one side to the other, matching my side seams. Sew the facing to the yoke with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to trim this seam allowance by about half. Then I'm going to understitch the facing. I'm going to turn the facing up and away from the garment, and I'm going to sew the seam allowance to the facing from one center back straight across to the opposite center back. Now I'll turn that facing to the inside of the garment and give it a good press all along the top seam. To keep the facing from flopping around on the inside of the garment, I'm going to stitch in the ditch of the side seams, just as far as the facing, placing my needle directly into the side seam and sewing from the top folded edge of the skirt to the bottom of the facing for both side seams. Then I'm going to finish the center back edges, attaching that facing to the center back from the top fold of the skirt to the bottom of the skirt, doing this for both center back edges. For this project, I'm choosing to use a 10-inch long invisible zipper. I'm going to open up the zipper and take it to my ironing board to press open those coils on both sides of the zipper tape. Then I'll place the left side of my zipper tape right sides together with the left back skirt. I want my top zipper stop to be flush with the top folded edge of the skirt, and I want the zipper teeth to be 3/4 of an inch away from the side finished edge, and pin in place. Now I can sew this side of the zipper in place using a zipper foot or an invisible zipper foot, sewing as close to the zipper teeth as possible, from the top of the skirt to as far as you can get to the bottom of the zipper. Now that one side of the zipper is attached, I'll close the zipper, and I'll place the right side of the zipper tape right sides together with the right back skirt. Having the zipper closed will help me accurately match the yoke seam as well as the top start of the zipper. And we still want to pin this side of the zipper tape in place so that the teeth are 3/4 of an inch away from the finished edge, and so that the top zipper stop once again is flush with the top of the skirt. Then I'll open up the zipper once again. Now that I have those landmarks pinned, I'll continue pinning this side of the zipper tape. And we can sew this side of the zipper tape in place from the top to the bottom, just as we did on the other side. Now I'll close the zipper and pin together the remainder of the center back seam. Now with my zipper foot still installed, I'm going to sew with a 3/4 inch seam allowance, starting from where the zipper stitches stopped, backstitching to secure, and continuing to the bottom of the garment. Now for the tops of the zipper tape that are extending beyond the top of the skirt, I'm just going to tuck that zipper tape in between the skirt and the seam allowance, and hand stitch it in place using a needle and thread. Doing the same on both sides of the center back. For the bottom edges of the skirt, I've gone ahead and finished the raw edges with my serger. The hem allowance for the bottom of the skirt is 1 inch, but you could try the dress on to determine how deep of a hem you'd like to create. I'm just going to fold the bottom edge of the skirt to the wrong side by about 5/8 of an inch and give that a press all the way around. Once the bottom hem is pressed to the wrong side, go ahead and sew close to your finishing stitches all the way around the bottom of the skirt. Now your skirt is complete. Thank you for watching this sew along. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss notifications every time a new full-length sewing tutorial comes out. And I'll see you in the next video.